Hello viewers, and welcome to another installment of the LOTR LCG Progression Series, a production by Cardboard of the Rings, the bi-weekly podcast about the Lord of the Rings the card game, which is a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. Joining you as always, my name is Mitch.
And I'm Matthew.
And today we're going to be taking a look at the second scenario of the Hobbit on the Doorstep Saga Expansion. This is the Lonely Mountain. So Matthew, why don't you introduce us to our story?
After being saved from the spiders and subsequently captured by the elves of Mirkwood, the dwarves were held prisoner in the dungeons of the Elven King until the intrepid Mr. Baggins contrived a most unusual method for their escape. And so they arrived at Lake Town on the mouth of the river Running, neatly packed in large barrels rowed downstream by unsuspecting wood elves. There our heroes received a warm welcome and were resupplied for the last leg of their journey. Upon reaching the Lonely Mountain, Thorin informed Bilbo that it was the burglar's job to investigate the dragon's lair and steal the treasure from Smaug's hoard.
Alright, so now that we've covered our story, as you can see, this is yet another Saga expansion scenario in which we have multiple treasures of which to lay claim. So for this scenario, I think I'm going to go ahead and take Bilbo's magic ring into my deck before anything else.
And then I will take the other three and put them in my deck.
And now that we've covered our treasures, let's go ahead and take a look at our player decks. So in this video, I'm going to be running a Dwarf Tri-Sphere deck, taking advantage of Dane Ironfoot, Nori for his threat reduction, and Ori for his additional card draw. It's extremely important in this scenario to bring tremendous amounts of willpower to the table, so not only do I have a host of dwarf allies that you've seen before, but some cards like Longbeard Mapmaker, so I can hopefully pump up one individual character to have an astronomical threat value. Something that is absolutely critical to this scenario is our inclusion of Rider of the Mark in both of our decks, so that if we happen to come across Smaug the Magnificent, we're able to deal with him without having to stomach countless overwhelming attacks launched against us. I've got King Under the Mountain in this deck, a number of songs, and then a host of dwarven events that you're probably used to by now, but what are you running, Matthew?
Well, I'm using two of our newest heroes from this Saga expansion, Bomber, who I've never used before, and Owen, who I've used a few times, and I like him quite a lot. I have many allies in this particular deck, mostly dwarves, again, to help us with the willpower here. A few attachments, some for card draw, Song, Light of Valinor, of course, Daron's Runes for more card draw, and then Untroubled by Darkness, once again, to help with some willpower. So hopefully, with our army of dwarves, we can retake the Lonely Mountain.
So now that we've taken a look at our player decks, why don't we go ahead and shuffle those and draw our opening hand of 6 cards.
Well, mine, I'm going to have to take a mulligan.
And mine, I certainly could be happier, but it's looking extremely good, so I'm definitely going to keep mine.
Alright, so I'm ready.
Alright, so now that we've got our opening hands, let's take a look at the mechanics unique to this scenario. So looking at Quest Phase 1A, this reads, search the encounter deck for Smaug the Golden, Smaug the Magnificent, the Lonely Mountain, and a Bare Patch. We've got Smaug the Magnificent and a Bare Patch set aside right down here, and we've got Smaug the Golden and the Lonely Mountain in our staging area. We've got 5 Erebor treasure cards stacked underneath the Lonely Mountain, so I've got 5 resource tokens here to demonstrate that. We've actually got a pile similar to an encounter deck, so we can shuffle those cards. Basically, while at least one card is stacked underneath the Lonely Mountain, it is immune to player card effects, cannot leave the staging area, and gets -2 threat value for each card stacked under it. So, since we've got 5 right now, it's got a threat value of 2. As we burgle more and more treasures, that threat value is eventually going to escalate to an astronomical 12. And it also has this action where, while making a burgle attempt, if the first player isn't going to succeed, he can spend 2 Baggins resources to take the revealed card into hand and to reveal the next card of his deck to increase our likelihood of passing these. We've also got Smaug the Golden, which is a very unique enemy sitting here in the staging area, area. Its threat is equal to the number of non-burglar characters committed to the quest, so just like I mentioned, it's of the utmost importance that our characters have more than one willpower to be able to generate any questing progress. He's indestructible, he's immune to player card effects, he's stuck there in the staging area, and over time we're going to be accumulating progress tokens on him instead of on a quest card. And of course, once we have 6 of those on him, we end up going to quest phase 4A, where all of a sudden Smaug wakes up, he transforms into his Magnificent iteration, and he starts dealing attacks against the players, and that's where that Rider of the Mark comes in. So now that we've finished quest phase 1A, let's go to 1B, and this reads, skip the quest phase, at the end of the round, advance to stage 2. So this is essentially going to give us one free round to prepare before we have to deal with Smaug. Once we do end up getting to quest phase 2, when we quest successfully, we not only put one progress token on Smaug the Golden, but the first player makes a burgle attempt, which we'll explain once we get to one. And if successful, the first player takes the top treasure from under the Lonely Mountain, its threat value increases by 2, and then we have the option to advance to stage 3. And that is another combat phase with Smaug the Magnificent. We can deal damage to him, we can just pass through the quest phase, but basically we can burgle as many treasures as we feel comfortable doing, and then pass on to our third quest phase, where we have an attempt to pass the scenario. So that's a lot of information, but hopefully this quest will make more sense as we go along. With that said, shall we go ahead and take our first turn?
Let's do it.
Alright, so I'll make myself the first player. I'll go ahead and draw one card. I'll do resources for each of my characters. For my turn, I think I'm going to go ahead and spend one of Ori's resources, and I'll play an Erebor Record Keeper, and I'm going to go ahead and spend one Baggins resource to search my deck for Bilbo's Magic Ring, close and shuffle my deck, and I'm going to go ahead and play that on Bilbo. So when I play a dwarf character, I reduce my threat by 1. I'm going to trigger Bilbo's Magic Ring, raise my threat by 1, back up to 28, and add one Baggins resource to Bilbo. And that is all I'm going to do for my turn.
Okay, I will put Orcrist on Glorfindel.
Fantastic. I guess you ended up drawing that?
I did. I'm going to go ahead and play a copy of Daeron's Runes.
Okay.
So draw 2 cards, and I will discard a copy of Dory.
Okay.
I will pay 1 for an Erebor Record Keeper.
Fantastic.
And then I'll pay 1 for Song of Wisdom on Glorfindel. And that's it for me.
Okay. All right. Sounds pretty good. So I think that's it for your planning?
Yep.
Alright, so of course, per our quest card, we skip the quest phase entirely, and that means, I suppose, we refresh.
Okay.
So, refresh, boost up our threat. I'll make you first player. Here's Bilbo with 1 resource on him. We can go ahead and do our resources as per usual, and draw 1 card.
So I will spend 3 spirit resources for a Rider of the Mark.
Fantastic.
And then I'll spend my final lore resource, so you can have a Song of Wisdom.
Awesome.
And then I will spend, if you want to take off 1 Baggins resource, I will look for Sting.
Okay. And while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and start up my turn. I think I'm just going to spend 1 lore resource and do a third Erebor Record Keeper. So it looks like we're in pretty decent shape for willpower, and
Okay.
next turn we'll be doing even better. So
Okay. Before planning is done, let me go ahead and do, if you want to exhaust the ring for me, we can add a resource to Bilbo, and I'll raise my threat by 1.
sure, looks like you're at an astronomical 23.
I know.
So let's hope it doesn't get too out of control. But I suppose that brings us to the first real quest phase. So if we quest successfully, we'll be putting that progress token on Smaug the Golden, and we'll be making a burgle attempt, and if we want, we can pass to quest phase 3, but then we have to deal with Smaug the Magnificent attacking us.
Okay.
And just the last thing is, if at any point we make an unsuccessful burgle attempt, Smaug the Golden will be launching an attack against the first player. But for committing characters, and we're only going to be revealing 2 cards, there's really not too much reason not to send everybody we can. So I'm going to do... Let's see here. And for simplicity's sake, since Smaug's threat value increases by 1 for each non-burglar character committed to the quest, why don't we just effectively discount their willpower by 1. So I'm going to do 4, 5, a total of 6. And all we need to do is make 1 progress.
So I'll send 2, 3... so I'll send a total of 6. If you want to exhaust Bilbo for me, please.
So we're essentially sending 12, which, negating Smaug's threat value here, we're only up against 2. Let's see what we reveal. So making sure that the encounter deck is indeed shuffled, and let's make sure our Erebor Treasures pile is also shuffled. Let's go ahead and reveal encounter card number 1, which is, first of all, Surge. This is going to be put 1 progress token on Smaug the Golden, then spend X Baggins resources or advance to stage 4A, where X is the number of progress tokens on Smaug the Golden.
Okay.
I certainly could cancel this, but I don't think that's that terrible of an effect.
Okay.
So let's do 1 progress token on Smaug, and then I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 Baggins token, since I've got control of him. So we don't need to advance to Quest Phase 4. But, of course, that card does surge. So encounter card number 1 is Desolation of Smaug. So while it's the active location, the first treachery each round gains surge, which is pretty terrible, actually. Hopefully we'll get Asphalloth as quickly as possible. But encounter card number 2 is Western Slopes, another location. When it leaves play, we can pick to either have the first player draw 2 cards or remove a progress from Smaug the Golden. So, at the present moment, we're essentially up against 7, and we've made 5 progress. So, taking a look at Quest Phase 2, we have to make a burgle attempt. So, this is going to be you, Matthew. I'm going to go ahead and discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until I read a card that has a burgle effect,
Okay.
and then we'll resolve that effect. So, let's see. First card, not a burgle
Seeing that
effect.
one go.
Second card is a burgle effect. So let me get rid of this first one.
Yikes.
And this reads, the first player shuffles his deck and then reveals the top card. You discard 1 card from your hand that matches the sphere and cost.
I highly doubt that this is going to happen. Nope, not at all. Nowhere close.
So you do not have any cost 1 spirit cards?
Nope.
Alright, so at the present moment we would have an opportunity for Bilbo to spend 2 Baggins resources to reveal the next card, but that is not going to happen. So, because we have failed this first burgle attempt, Smaug the Golden attacks the first player.
And it certainly sucks to lose Light of Valinor.
That certainly could have been coming in handy for you. So let's go ahead and deal 1 shadow card to Smaug the Golden. Who do you want to declare as your defender?
Well, I really only have one option.
Alright, so Bomber is the defender. The shadow card is nothing. And this is a nasty card that is going to be gone. So Bomber is going to end up taking 4 points of damage.
That's not good.
So, certainly unfortunate that we failed our first burgle attempt, but let's get rid of that shadow card, and now we can move on to our quest phase. So, do we want to make maybe this Western Slopes the active location?
Sure.
Alright, so let's make that active. And there's no combat to speak of, so why don't we go ahead and Control R to refresh. So, refresh. If you'd make me the first player, I'll gain control of Bilbo here.
Of course, the next card was a match.
Last turn, Matthew happened to notice this. I forgot to reduce my threat by 1 with this Erebor Record Keeper, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And I want to trigger Bilbo's Magic Ring immediately to give him 1 resource. But let me go ahead and draw 2 cards, since I've got 5 dwarves, and do 1 resource for each of my characters. I think what I'm going to do on my planning is I'll go ahead and spend 3 resources, and I will go ahead and put Glowin into play. And for his ability, I think I'm going to go ahead and pick your Bomber to gain 2 resources.
Okay, thank you.
And that is all I'm going to do. My threat drops by 1 because of Nori.
Alright, so I will think, due to your generous donation of resources, I can pay 3 for Biffer.
Okay, and
now I can draw 2 cards.
awesome. And at this
Oh, and now I drew a Light of Valinor.
perfect.
So I will pay 1 for Light of Valinor.
Awesome.
And that is all I can do.
Well, that certainly sounds like you've done enough. I don't think it necessarily affects too much, but Owen gets +1 attack strength, and he now has the tactics resource icon as well.
Yeah.
So on to questing. I think I will certainly send Bilbo for 2, Ori for 4, Nori for 6. My record keepers make it 8. And how about yourself?
Owen's 2, Glorfindel's 2, so that's 4. Record Keeper is 1, that's 5. And then Rider is 6.
Alright, so it's going to be a grand total of 14, again, pretending that Smaug isn't in the staging area at all, and we're up against 5 threats. So encounter card number 1 is another Western Slopes. Encounter card number 2 is a Dark Bats.
Oh no,
So
where's Fallon when you need him?
Yeah. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 threat that we're up against. We're going to make exactly 5 progress, and we can either remove 1 progress token from Smaug, or we can have the first player, myself, draw a couple cards. So at some point in the future, Matthew and I might try and make a video where we retrieve all 5 of the Erebor treasures, but for the present moment, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and draw 2 cards. So looks like I got some pretty decent stuff. This location is, of course, completely explored, and we have quested successfully. So first of all, we've got to put 1 progress token on Smaug the Golden, and then I have to discard encounter cards until I find one that has a burgle mechanic. And it looks like this first one does. So let's see here. First of all, I've got to shuffle my deck, and I'm looking for a card that matches the type and cost. So the revealed card is King Under the Mountain. So this kinda stinks, but I think I'll discard that revealed card, and I'll also discard a copy of King Under the Mountain in my hand, that I'm now glad I didn't play this turn, in order to take the first treasure off this stack of treasures. So let's shuffle our treasure deck, and I'm gonna go ahead and take this top card into my hand. The card is a Mithril Shirt.
Okay, not too bad.
Kind of interesting, so I'll take that into my hand. So at this point, if we would like, we could advance to Quest Phase 3, where Smaug the Magnificent would come out and attack us. I personally feel like we don't necessarily need to do that quite yet.
Okay.
So might as well wait. Smaug's, of course, got 2 progress tokens, so we're not anywhere near Quest Phase 4 yet. But that is our quest phase. Where do we want to travel?
Western Slopes again? That Desolation's pretty nasty.
Alright, why don't I make Western Slopes our active location, and, surprise, surprise, we actually have an enemy that's going to be attacking. For engagement, I'll go ahead and optionally engage this enemy. I'll throw a shadow card onto him. I'll declare Dane Ironfoot as my defender. Shadow card is nothing at all. Dane takes no damage, and I'll go ahead and have Glowin swing for an impressive 1 and kill the Dark Bats.
Alright, very good.
Alright, so I guess that's another round. Why don't we go ahead and control R. I'll make you first player. Here's Bilbo with a resource. I'll draw 2 cards because of Ori, and I'll do 1 resource on each of my characters.
I won't be playing anything this turn.
Okay, and do we want to trigger Bilbo's ring while we're thinking about it?
I could search for a treasure, but yes, certainly we can just trigger the ring.
Sure.
Raise my threat by 1.
Alright, and there's 1 more resource on him. For my turn, I think I'll go ahead and slap that Mithril Shirt down on Bilbo. No real reason not to do that.
Nope.
I'm 1 resource shy of throwing out a Gondor attachment. I think all I'm going to do is strip 3 resources off of Nori, and I'm going to go ahead and put out a Rider of the Mark. So now we've each got one.
Okay.
And that's it for me.
Okay.
So for our quest phase, we're currently up against 7 threat plus Smaug, so just something to keep in mind.
I'll send my 6 again. I could certainly send Bilbo if you want for another 2.
Alright, so I'll exhaust Bilbo for you. For me, let's see, you're the one that's in danger of being attacked, whether it's Smaug the Golden, whether it's Smaug the Magnificent. So what I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to go ahead and do 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a total of 9. So it looks like we're going to be doing a grand total of 17. We're currently up against 4, 5, 6, 7 threats, and it would be nice to make 5. So let's see what we do. Encounter card number 1 is each dragon enemy in the staging area makes an immediate attack against the player with the highest total willpower committed to the quest. Do not deal a shadow card for this attack. As much as I wish Dane could just stomach this attack without too much talk, I think it's probably going to cause some trouble because we'd lose so much willpower as soon as he gets exhausted. So I will strip 1 resource off of him, and I'm going to go ahead and play a Test of Will to cancel that effect. So hopefully we're not going to pull another one. But let's see. Encounter card number 2 is Secret Entrance. So while this is the active location, the Lonely Mountains threat is reduced by half. But the first player must exhaust a hero and name a card type to travel here. It's essentially a burgle mechanic itself.
Interesting.
But that means we're going to be up against a total of 4, 8 threat, which means we're going to end up making a total of 9 surplus progress. So that means 5 on our western slopes, which is going to leave play, and I vote that you should draw 2 cards, and
Okay.
of course I'll also put 1 progress token on Smaug the Golden. And since we've quested successfully, we need to make another burgle attempt.
Okay.
So let's see how this goes. Discarding cards off the encounter deck. Looks like not a burgle effect. Not a burgle effect. Not a burgle effect. Not a burgle effect. I never seem to be this lucky when Smaug the Magnificent is attacking me, and this does have a burgle effect. So let's get rid of some of these cards. And this reads, the first player shuffles his deck, reveals the top card. He may discard 2 cards from his hand that match the revealed card's type.
Hey, I can do this.
Alright.
So I will do Bofur, and then I'll get rid of the Mine or the Iron Hills.
Alright, so it looks to me like that matches type, so those are both discarded. Your Gondorian Spearman is discarded, but we have made a successful burgle attempt. So, let's see what you get. The treasure is a Thor's hunting bow.
Hey, yay! I can put this on Bard for the Battle of 5 Armies. I'm so excited.
Right. So not only when making a ranged attack does the enemy get -2 defense, but also he gets +2 attack.
That is fantastic. I was hoping for that one.
So that's going to be 1 less treasure under the Lonely Mountain here, and this is now going to be threat value 6. So, at the present moment, we're confronted with an opportunity to pass to Stage 3. So there's certainly a reasonable amount of threat out there in the staging area. It's possible that we could keep on questing, continue possibly making successful burgle attempts, but do we want to chance Smaug's wrath, or do we want to intentionally wake him up, piss him off right now, and see if we can bring this one home?
Well, I have my hunting bow, so I am content.
All right. Looks like we've gotten our mithril mail, we've gotten our bow of horn.
Right. I don't remember what the other... Arkenstone's meh, that cup is sort of meh. What's the other one? It's another
Thor's
throw or
axe,
something.
yeah.
Oh, that one's pretty good. But I'm content to move on.
Sure. So why don't we go ahead and do Quest Stage 3? And again, it's possible in the future that Matthew and I will reapproach this scenario and try to get all of the treasures, perhaps with the Outlanders. So at this point, we set Smaug the Golden aside, out of play, and we add Smaug the Magnificent and a bare patch to the staging area. So let's go ahead and move Smaug the Golden out of play. Let's collapse these cards here, and we'll add Smaug the Magnificent and a bare patch to the staging area. Let's flip this card, and this actually has quest points, 20 of them. Players cannot defeat this stage while Smaug the Magnificent is in play. Forced, if the total number of progress on this stage is greater than the total remaining hit points on Smaug the Magnificent, remove Smaug the Magnificent from play. So if we're able to make 20 or more progress, Smaug is gone. So this is where I start to feel really uncomfortable with having spent my last spirit resource, especially with as many non-burgle cards as we revealed from the encounter deck, because Smaug the Magnificent cannot leave the staging area and is considered to be engaged with the first player. If he's dealt a shadow card with a burgle effect, he makes an additional attack immediately after this one. And of course, the other card added to the staging area is a bare patch. So after we quest successfully, the first player makes a burgle attempt, and if successful, we attach a bare patch to Smaug, and it gives him -3 defense. So not a big deal, but very flavorful. Goes with the books. So for travel, we've got a couple different options here. The Lonely Mountain is currently sitting at threat 6. There's Desolation of Smaug, but Treachery Surging sucks. Do we want to try and go to the secret entrance?
Well, we certainly could.
Right, I suppose there's no harm in doing that. So why don't you exhaust a hero, and let's name a card type.
I'll say Treachery.
Alright, so discarding top card of the encounter deck, it is a Treachery! Awesome, so that is...
And of course, it doesn't have a burgle effect, so that would have been a perfect shadow card for Smaug.
Right. Miserable. So
Yep.
at least we make Secret Entrance our active location, and now the Lonely Mountain's threat value is only 3. So
Yep.
with that said, let's go to the combat phase. Smaug the Magnificent is engaged with you. He has 1 shadow card. How do you want to defend?
Biffer. He's going to get a burgle. I just know it.
And it is... Oh my god, it's a burgle. So
We shouldn't have traveled to that
Biffer
location.
is killed.
Yep.
And he attacks again. This is going to have to be an undefended attack.
Yep, not going to defend with Glorfindel.
Using the Rider of the Marks in this deck. It does have a burgle effect.
You.
Alright, so Bomber is dead. Another attack, and it is undefended. It, thank God, does not have a burgle effect, so obviously this is why we use Riders of the Mark, but unfortunately that means another hero of yours is gone. So hopefully we'll be able to make it through, but we'll have to see. So that is the end of the round. Let's go ahead and Control R to refresh. I'll go ahead and take control of Bilbo, if you'd make me first player. I will draw 2 cards. I'll do my resources. I'm going to go ahead and pay 2 off of Dane for a Steward of Gondor on Dane. I'll trigger that to do 2 resources on him. I'll get rid of this shadow card I forgot to discard. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 more resources off of Ori. I'll do 1 off Bilbo, 1 off Dane, to go ahead and play Gandalf.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
I think I'm gonna just pick to draw cards. And then that is all I'm gonna do.
Alright. You can just, cause, why not, put a Glamdring on one of your people.
Okay.
I am going to put Should we ever make an attack on what's-his-name, I'll put the ranged thing, the hunting bow on Glorfindel.
Okay.
So his restricted spots are full,
Well,
and that's all I can do.
You know, with, let's say, Dane having Glamdring, and with your character making a massive attack, it certainly could help take a chunk out of Smaug, so between that and a lot of questing ability, that might actually end up working out very nicely. So for questing, I'm first off going to go ahead and pay 1 resource off of Dane for a sneak attack, and it's not Gandalf that I'm going to pick, but it's actually Faramir, and I'm going to go ahead and trigger him, choosing myself as the target to give each of my characters +1 willpower until the end of the phase, and it's going to be my goal here to quest as hard as I possibly can. So I will do Nori for 4, Ori for 8, both of my record keepers make it 14, Glowin makes it 18, Rider of the Mark is 21, Gandalf is 26.
I've got a total of 7.
So that would be a total of 34. We're presently up against 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. And I think I'm also going to send Bilbo, risking it all, to send a total of 37 between the two of us. So, let's see what we get. Encounter card number 1, and we're hoping to make 21 progress, is... when revealed, each dragon enemy in the staging area makes an immediate attack against the player with the highest total willpower committed to the quest. Do not deal a shadow card for this attack.
I will cancel that.
As kind as that is of you to do, Matthew, I think I'm actually going to spend my resource, and I'll be the one to cancel that. So,
okay.
Why don't I get rid of my Test of Will, and I'll get rid of Belching Fire. So, encounter card number 2 is another Belching Fire.
Okay, well...
Now, if you would like, you can do the honors. So, that effect is cancelled.
Okay.
So, we're up against a total of 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 threats, which means we're going to end up making 25 progress. 1 is going to be absorbed by our current location, and then that means we're going to make 24 progress on Quest Phase 3B here. This forced effect reads, if the total number of progress on this stage is greater than the total remaining hit points on Smaug the Magnificent, remove Smaug the Magnificent from play. So I'm going to go ahead and set him over here. Of course, since we did quest successfully, we can make a burgle attempt. If successful, we can attach that bear patch to him, but he's not in play for that patch to go on to him. This quest card reads, players cannot defeat this stage while Smaug the Magnificent is in play. So, he's out of play. We've got 24 out of our 20 quest points. We have defeated this stage, we've won the game, and we've discovered both of our treasures burgled from the Lonely Mountain. So we have Thror's hunting bow, and we also have that mithril shirt that are going to be at our disposal once we get to playing the Battle of 5 Armies. So that pretty much sums it up for this scenario. So, Matthew, any final thoughts about the Lonely Mountain?
Well, I've only played this quest once, and that was with Brian and Brandon from the podcast, and it didn't go all that well. I think we lost relatively quickly. It certainly sucks to lose some heroes. Our Rider of the Mark trick, while we were both set up to do it, we weren't able to because you had to use your Test of Will. Again, with this being my only experience with this particular quest, I know a lot of people don't particularly care for it. I found it to actually be kind of fun and different, and burgling was fun. I definitely think I would enjoy trying to burgle 5 of them. That could be quite fun. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, again, losing the hero sucked, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think certainly with... Faramir was gigantic on the last turn. Gandalf certainly helped. The Rider with the Mark combo, I felt so awful seeing 2 of your heroes die, but I'm so glad we didn't end up pulling, burgle effect. 1 more burgle effect would have cost you the game, and for all intents and purposes, I certainly wouldn't have been able to make it through this quest, at least on this round, without you, and it certainly would have been a struggle when Faramir would have bounced back to my hand, when I quite possibly might have lost any number of heroes, so This certainly ended up going all right. It certainly could have gone better. I guess the most important thing to remember here is be sure to leave those spirit resources open.
Right. I was really looking forward to taking a pot shot at Smaug this turn, but I suppose winning is better than sniping at the dragon.
For sure. I guess, what was it? I could have done 4, you could have made that 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Presuming I could have done a successful burgle attempt, since I've got 8 cards in hand, that would have been 6 points of damage to Smaug, and...
The bear patch would have been on him, that would have been nice.
Right. So it would have enabled those 6 points of damage, so we certainly had enough progress tokens without doing that, but if we'd have had, say, 16 progress tokens on that, this attack we could have removed Smaug from play, and then our next questing would have been quite a bit simpler, so... This certainly ended up going all right for us. Hopefully we'll have even better luck when it comes to playing our next scenario, the Battle of Lake Town. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel if you have not done so already, and with that said, we'll see you again soon.